We're doing our usual Saturday stream. I did one on Thursday as well. And I have to say, writing the script for the How Being a Straight Man Became a Sin video has been a little difficult. Just because I have a lot of ideas for it and just the structure of it and contrasting it with, because this isn't the first time I tried to write the script for that video. It was a couple of months ago, back in, I think, April or May, I tried to write it as well. So this is one of the few times where I have a script, right? And one of the issues with it is contrasting if it's any better than the one I had from several months ago. Because there are ideas I have now about it that I didn't have back then, which is the reason for rewriting it. And there is one part from the previous one that I did want to include in there because I think it's very illustrating of my issue with the way people act toward men that are attracted to women, that sin. Um, And one of the thing actually I'll talk about it was how you have this hyper fixation on going after a man for his perceived personality. And what that ends up doing is basically you have people who will say, "Oh, you probably treat women poorly," right? That's one of the accusations they put out, even though they've never seen you interact with one of them before, whatever. Or they say that you believe that if you act like a nice person, you're entitled to something or you deserve something. And I talked about in the video script how you would never see a woman that treats a man that she's interested in a decent, pleasant manner be told that she expects him to be interested in her because of this, or that someone who it's one of those things where it's back to the over analyzing of men, like just taking a guy and pretending as if there's 900 different issues you can pick through from him, and the double standards of how one gender has this constant continuous like push to just always be at fault no matter what, and the other one is just able to get away scot-free, and able to do things that if someone of the male persuasion had done, they would get criticized for. So I'm looking forward to writing the rest of it. I'm just contemplating if I want the main backdrop image to be the one of me on the cross. It's been a really interesting week in terms of just the way things have been laid out. Like I've had this one script I sat on. The first idea I had for it was back in December of last year, and over the last month or two, it's for a movie. Because every time I think about doing a movie, I always write out like a little 4, 5, 6 paragraph, not 6 paragraph, but like 6 sentences, just talking about here's what the basic plot would be. These characters would do this, blah 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 blah, right? But every time it actually came just sitting down and starting to write this thing, it was really difficult. So um it's been really interesting to me, right, to be able to actually do it this time. I only have about like 12 pages, but that's still way further than any other time I've come in regards to writing a movie. That's the most I've ever come. So uh, it's something that I may only do like 1, 2, 3 pages a day, but it still is way better than the stagnation and writer's block. Um, because I do always dream about the idea of you just start writing and all these ideas come to you and you know how to perfectly put them down, but most of the time that doesn't happen. um and it's nice to see that at least something is actually being written here instead of just me sitting there not having it done. This person asked me, what video would you like to see get more views? I said the I've been criticized for everything video, mainly because of the fact that a lot of people don't believe me when I say I've been attacked over everything, personality, appearance, voice, what I was wearing, all this other stuff. And it when you have the screenshots of all the nasty things that have been typed, it really gives credence to that idea. But also, I think it's very important for people to understand that when you get to a point where you have to just psychoanalyze and draw an issue with everything about someone, literally, right? Um, because you're so hell bent on defending people you've never met before. I think that shows there's something wrong with that system or that idea, that concept. Uh, and it still did all right. I'm not. It's not even at 200 views. But that's still like way better than what most of my stuff usually gets. So I'm not going to be too upset if it doesn't get any more. But I do. I think out of any of the romance stuff, that's probably the one I like the most, just because it shows how you really shouldn't take criticism online seriously because people will always have an issue with you no matter what. I know a lady, and I mentioned this before. She draws. I don't know her. I've seen her art before. She draws like Danny Phantom art. Like she's really into that show, to where most of her art is about it. And I think she's a very talented artist. She's not a commentator. She's just a person that puts up art. Sometimes people pay her to do it. Just seemingly a productive person that is very talented, right? And I'll never forget the day I was looking at the comments on her stuff, and some worthless clown wrote, "Your obsession with DP is kind of creepy," and I was thinking to myself, she's just an artist, just people draw fan art and stuff all the time. Fan art is what keeps a lot of different ideas and shows and movies are alive way past the time of them actually making new stuff. You'll have people who still like it enough to um, draw art for it. It's really a shame when someone's able to like twist that and make it a bad thing, And people always say you hate. It's like no, I'll defend one if someone says something insane. So if I see one that's really talented and is seemingly just a productive person that's not bothering anybody with what she does, and then someone come and I didn't say anything directly to him because I don't argue with these people ever. But you get the idea that it's one of those instances where I'm more than willing to defend somebody if I think they are being attacked over something very ridiculous, like just something that they shouldn't be attacked over, but somehow it's been conjured up to be a thing that can be used against them. So that's always my position. Just if you want to do something on here, just do it. Don't let anyone tell you about someone might not like this or it's just because like I said, um, no matter what type of content I do, I have someone who complains. You know, it's just the ones for the people who are like obsessed with the romance stuff or find about detractors for that. They just tend to be more nasty and disgusting than like people who disagree with me on the news or some show or movie. I just thought that was really weird. It's like people are more prone to get worked up over the love life of another man than like national politics or something. That's always an interesting spectacle. Just the type of stuff that people actually get angry about. Hold on, Akatsuki Merchant. Let me pull up your comment. Yeah, you can't talk about anything online without some antagonistic comments from people you haven't done anything to. I just really felt bad for her because she overwhelmingly she gets support, right? But for the life of me, I can't understand where another person drawing fan art of a show they really liked would be, and their art is just it's different pictures of the characters hanging out, training, fight, whatever, just like normal stuff. And you get so you feel so compelled to say that she's creepy because she draws fan art of a show like millions of other artists do. You get what I'm saying? It's one of those things where when I see something as innocent as that being gone after, I know that there's like no hope for just having something where you can safely assume it won't get detractors. Like I just know after that that It's always going to be this way with everything. And it's really a shame because, who wants to um be involved with, trying to create things, and then you get this weird pushback. Like I don't understand people with the stuff they get mad over. But that was one of the most egregious examples because for the life of me, I can't understand where what she was doing specifically would warrant that type of response. Oh, this woman draws really good art and I can't even draw a stick figure. Well, let me talk about how she's creepy for liking a show that was so popular that literally over 10 years after it's been gone with no new episodes, people still want it back. I remember when they uploaded that there was some promo for whatever Hartman's last show was before he left Nickelodeon. Um, there was a clip where they had the different DP characters in there. First time you've seen them animated in 10 years, and people were thumbing it up, going, "Oh, this is so great." So it's she's clearly not alone in her liking of. But like I said, people draw fan art of stuff all the time. It's weird. So I said there's something wrong with people. They're mad that they can't draw as good as her. It's funny. It was like I remember I had this joke that I've seen multiple. So like people always say that men are misogynistic and they talk about the way women look, which is very ironic because I don't have any videos just sitting here bashing the appearance of chicks, but I have people talk trash with the way I look all the time. And it was really funny when I went on Twitter and I was able to find like multiple screenshots of different chicks talking trash about the way other women looked, right? Um, and how a lot of times people will say in response that, well, they're just jealous because she looks better than them. And I was laughing because like that's what my thing is with the artist. Like, oh, they're just jealous of this one artist because she's more talented than they are. But see, that's still different because she had to actually do something to become as good of an artist as she is. When you have an appearance, you just look that way. It's not exactly a talent to just to appear, to just have this appearance. Like it's this predetermined thing that for a lot of it you have no control over. And I just feel a lot more vindicated saying that someone's art is making another person jealous of them than where the only rebuttal they have to it is, oh, you're creepy for drawing multiple pictures from the same show because apparently there's a limit on how many you can draw. Anyways, let's talk about this sequel to this dumb broad on what was that Monday? What day was that? Let me look. When I did that stream where I was like Discord again. Oh, okay, yeah. So during that stream, I talked about this goofy woman who I would speak to every day, right? And I would just ask, "How are you doing?" Whatever. And then suddenly she is in a bad mood over something that happened to her in real life, and then just abruptly stops responding. Um, and how weird it was for you to seemingly not do something to someone, but then they get so upset over whatever happened in their real life that they just don't speak to you and they just like sit on that same site all day long like, haha, I'm here but I'm also not going to respond to you. So what I ended up doing on Thursday, right, was saying, hey, it's been a week since we last spoke. Are you all right? Did I do something wrong? And then she has three different excuses for why she didn't respond back to me. I got to scroll up because it was quite a lengthy exchange. She says, "Didn't respond first time because I was kind of upset and felt apprehensive. Yes. Then I stopped responding because I was going through a lot and wasn't feeling well. Then I didn't respond because I genuinely forgot to reply. So yeah." So I said, "First you were angry, then you were sick, then you forgot." And then her response was not sick, just upset and really down. But see what she said in her message, and I'll read it again. Was didn't respond first time because I was kind of upset and felt apprehensive. Yes. Then I stopped responding because I was going through a lot and wasn't feeling well. Now I want to ask you, Akatsuki merchant, if someone says they didn't respond because they weren't feeling well, right? Like like, wouldn't you interpret that to be a physical feeling as if they're sick? So I said for the second reason you wrote that you weren't feeling well, which is why I wrote that you were sick. Apparently it was a mistranslation. Do you feel any better? Yeah, thanks. I assume you're currently busy. And then she says she's playing some game and she ran errands. Said, great. Uh, I was really worried about, you were pissed. Are you busy tomorrow? And then she says, don't think so. Why? I said, oh, because this was like a running gag where I would ask if she was busy and then she would say no and then ask why, like, why, because just trying to have a call or whatever. Because we had two of them that were both 3 hours long. And I said, you know why? I guess because you want to VC, we'll see. So this is something I hate. When someone doesn't want to do something, because apparently saying no to a person over the computer is like the hardest thing in the world. Instead of just saying, I don't want to do this, I'm not interested, they say maybe, right? To like leave open, to give you the false hope that they might do it. And this is a practice that has been done by multiple people I've spoken to on Discord. Um, for example, I've had two or three of them. You'll ask, "Hey, you want to see a movie together at some point?" Oh, maybe. Oh, possibly. Now, again, these people have no actual interest in doing this, and you know this because when you speak to them for a week or 2 weeks or 3 or 4 months, however long afterward, they never get around to actually taking you up on that offer. So they have no interest in actually doing this. But they say that so you can be incentivized to keep speaking to their time wasting behind. Anyways, let's resume this. So when she says, we'll see, to me, that sounds like a maybe, right? So later on that day, I ask if she's busy again because this is like she was in another country. There's like a big time gap. I said, well, you know what I like to do, and she says, man, I don't really feel like talking. And I said, does something happen? She says, no, I just don't feel like it. And I do like a little rhyme. And I said, what do you feel like doing? My own thing. And I said, you apparently didn't feel like responding to me for almost a week, so I don't know what you want. And then she says, are you bitter? I said, I'm perplexed. She says, I already explained myself to you, can't help you more than that. I said, right, so why would you assume I was bitter? And then she responds, because of the way you're acting, and then swears at me because, apparently I'm on a trash TV talk show now where people get to call me say the F word and all these other bad terms to look strong online. And then she says, there's no way you lack that much self-awareness. So there we go with those like subtle, slick disses. I don't know what way I'm acting. I always just ask if you're okay. Well, hell, I wanted to call. You said no. What reaction am I supposed to have? Now I'm perplexed is her response. I said, at least we agree on confusion. She says, just sounds to me like you're shy about admitting you're pissed and don't want to be called out when you accidentally show it. I said, I'm not pissed. I did want to call. You said, no, that's that. And then she responds, maybe it's a bit difficult to interpret for me over text, but that's not how it came across. Because you can hear somebody's voice when they write something to you. And I responded, you cursed at me. Because she said, a swear word in response to like this exchange, as I mentioned just a little moment ago. I said, you cursed at me, but I'm the one who's pissed. And then she says, I what? Not for no reason. You know what? I'll just leave me alone, please. Remember, I'm the one who's pissed as she's telling me to leave her alone. I tried talking to you about it, but you're just too difficult to talk to sometimes. And then I respond to the what, just leave me alone part by saying, damn, I thought I already did that for a week. She says, do it for another week then. Thanks, bye. Anyways, this exchange, I could do a whole edited video about this, but this exchange continues. And during it, she reveals that apparently she has now, after multiple instances, concluded that our personalities are not compatible. Remember, the same person who spoke to me one-on-one for 6 hours in the last month now says we are not compatible to speak to speak or whatever, but then also says, oh, well, you can speak to me once a week. And I'm just thinking to myself, I literally just didn't speak to you for a week after you wouldn't respond to the last message I sent you, which was asking if you were all right. So imagine having someone ignore you right for a whole week, then you say something to them, and then after speaking for like I guess technically 2 days, oh, Just leave me alone. Go back to not saying anything to me. Thanks, bye. You better believe I unfriended that bastard. I was like, let me just clarify this. If someone doesn't want to speak to me, right, that's one thing. But for a person who I spoke to, again, one on one, nobody else was involved, for 6 hours in the last 3 weeks to tell me that we're not compatible and I don't believe we can get along, but then also say that they still are willing to speak once a week. Definition of mixed signals, because if I thought me and someone else were not compatible, which I don't know why that's the new word people like to use, like we're talking about hooking up some game systems, I would just stop speaking to them altogether. I wouldn't put up some like, well, maybe you can still talk to me 4 times a month. Like, no, to hell with that. No, they love doing that, like we'll see maybe thing. I'm so sick of those two words. Or those two, I guess, phrases I should say. Literally every single one of them that says maybe or something like that to seeing a movie or doing something together, they never do it. Not a single one. It's just a stupid word they use to try to get you to believe they're gonna do something that you want them to do, but then when they don't, they act like you like were convinced that you know they were going to do something they didn't make a commitment to do or didn't express interest in doing. Because if she said, "Hey, look, I'm not busy, but I don't feel like speaking," right? Because I asked her if she was busy the next day. If she had said, "I don't feel like doing this tomorrow," wouldn't have had one goddamn complaint come out of me. But the idea that someone is going to like leave open the possibility of doing it, and then when you get to the time of doing it, oh, I don't feel like doing it after they've already pissed you off by not responding for a week and given like all these different excuses. I was good, you know. So that's another insane woman I walked away from because I don't feel like putting up with their trash. And don't worry, we'll have a whole segment in the how being straight became a bad thing video where we talk about how people actually believe we're supposed to just put up with this stuff forever. That if you're a man, you're supposed to be the woman's slave, and you can never be upset or tired with anything they do. Just forever, it's like a life sentence to try to get a date. Where people keep on like trying to get you to do, this outrageous stuff for someone to like you. And then when it doesn't work out, they're going to just blame you anyway. Okay, let me read what Akatsuki Merchant wrote. They always have to put other people down so they can feel better about their own insecurities. Someone who insults someone unprovoked is unusually angry or looking for a reaction for the sake of seeking attention. Yeah, they feel strong when they come on here and mess with people that are actually way more productive than themselves. Because that lady's art is amazing. It looks like just like it was out of the show. And you can tell she's a very accomplished artist, which is why people ask her to do commissions for them. LOL, she's embarrassed because you called her out for projecting, so now she wants you to leave her alone. It's like I'm the one who's pissed, but I'm also not the one who ignored her for a week. I'm also not the one that cursed at her when she was asking me why I did what I did. I'm not the one telling her to leave me alone. You were too difficult to speak to. But I'm pissed. Hell, I even laughed in my responses to her stuff. I laughed. I had a little laugh emoji. But the other thing we talked about, and I don't know if you remember this, Akatsuki Merchant, and you might be again, I don't discuss it that often, so there's a big possibility you remember it. Is there's a strong correlation between people who don't want to speak to you, by voice to voice like a call, and this like psychopathic coldness to the stuff that they're saying to you. Basically, they feel stronger if they get to type all this trash out versus actually saying it to you, even if it's like just over the phone, which is what would happen if it was a VC. Because in that 6 hours that I spoke to her, She didn't say anything like this. No, no, go away, leave me alone. Very, very calm and reserved. So when they get in the VC with you, their words get a lot kinder and gentler. But when they get in front of that keyboard, matter of fact, let me see if I got my prop. Yeah, right here. Here, I'm gonna give you a demonstration. Okay, this is her like in a call, right? Akatsuki merchant. I just don't believe that we should speak in this way because I'm really worried that I might upset you. And this is her when she's typing stuff to you in the comfort of her little dungeon. You are annoying, and I want you to go away and leave me alone, you piece of garbage. But see, like I said, people online are some of the biggest cowards on this goddamn planet because even having a call where you just sit there and talk to this person, you don't have to see them, you don't have to look at them, they're not in front of you physically. They're too scared to do that. Remember the person I told you about that it was like 3 weeks ago or a month ago, sent unfriended me and then sent me a friend request an hour later talking about he had an anxiety about having a VC. It's like that's how they all are. They all act as if speaking to someone by voice is this really terrifying thing. And I also have to give this distinction because I met another chick on there who doesn't want to VC, but the difference between her and this one is that she doesn't like ever write nasty stuff to people. So I can like be more sympathetic to that than a person who I know doesn't have a problem sitting in a call with someone, but is purposely avoiding doing one of those because it's harder for her to act like a prick voice to voice than through the wonders of the keyboard. That's a serious issue that we have on here. People act as if they're so powerful when they get in front of that thing and tell me to leave you alone like I'm some pest. You just got through not speaking to this person for a week and they're gonna talk about leave me alone. Thanks, bye. What the hell is wrong with you? So I said, man, something is wrong. Well, whatever. We're gonna talk more about how insane they are in the coming days when we finish the video and put that up. But I just think there's something really ironic about like telling someone else that like to leave you alone and cursing at them, but then saying they're pissed. The same thing actually happens in several other like in video games where people will like call somebody and curse them out, and then they'll accuse the other person of being angry. That's the same thing with these romance guys. You lack confidence. That's why you show your face while we hide behind our computer. It's always the pot calling the kettle black. You're too difficult to talk to because you asked her a simple question. It's really telling of a person's intelligence that being asked a simple question about their behavior makes them angry. Well, it's also really telling about her logic when you say to someone, our personalities are not compatible. Oh, but we can still speak just once a week. I need space. It's like, oh, I just gave you space. I didn't say anything to you for a week. Also, I got the screenshot where the bimbo said it was fine to message her every day. So, we can use that as more proof of like, how's that? What's that one candy? First they're sour, then they're sweet. Or like they revert back. It's the reverse version of that. These sour patch pricks, these SPPs, where they act nice for like a few days or like a week or two, and then they find some dude. This Let me also mention this because this is in the text as well. I just don't feel like going through the whole thing. I mentioned that we only ever had one argument, which was that day, because I had never, to my knowledge, argued with her before. So let me tell you what she says in response. That we had two, and I said, okay, when was the other one? Oh, it was during one of the VCs, but it may have been one sided. I'm like, you're damn right, it was one sided. But see, let me also explain how slick this is. By saying that it was in one of the VCs, she's able to claim that there was another altercation that we had without me being able to look at this supposed thing that she's claiming to. Basically, it's an easier way for her to make something up and lie and make it seem as if I was just this horrible person she was speaking to because there's no record of a call, like the contents of it. You dodged a bullet with this one. She sounds so dumb. I mean, hey, I was already seeing, the stupidity a few days ago when I made the stream talking about her. I was like, let's see how this plays out. And, it's always the same old thing. They flip on you quicker than you can put on a new shirt. That'll be a funny like parody video. Like I get some like voice actor to do this where I'm in a call with her on Discord. She's like, "Oh, I really enjoy speaking." I'm like, all right, hold on, give me a second. I gotta go pee. And then you hear like the pee in the background, and it's like 10 seconds to pee. And I come back and she's like, "Well, now that I've thought about it, I don't think our personalities are compatible." Like that's exactly what they do. They always switch and change. And I mean, I want you to understand this, okay? When we talk about insanity from chicks, it's not about having some person you thought liked you say they're not interested or just stuff like that. It's them doing things that indicate one thing, right? And then doing a complete 360 turn in a very quick amount of time. Because that second VC, which was again 3 hours long, the two together were 6 hours, wasn't even 2 weeks ago. It was on the when you call somebody at like midnight and then it was like the second and third of this month. So in the span of a few weeks, you went from being this person that she was willing to speak to every day, to have multiple hours long calls with, to now being someone that supposedly she doesn't believe she's compatible with after one argument. Hey, we got to say our phrase. Come on, let's do it. Megumi wrote it somewhere. Let's just say it because we might as well. I don't remember which stream it was on, but that we need to make sure that we get that quote because it's very accurate. I mean, I know it by heart for the most part, but I want to see if I can directly quote him. Oh, here it is. And they found you amusing for a while, the chicks on these websites. But the one thing they love more than a straight man who tries is a straight man is to see a straight man fall, die trying. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. Why bother? Those bastards will have hours long calls with you. They'll laugh at all the little different stuff you're saying. They'll talk about how much they enjoy spending time with you. You know what would be the most perfect thing ever? If like I actually do make like a final romance video, just like a last one that's like an hour, 2 hours long, and I just play different clips of random chicks saying, "Oh my God, you're so funny. Oh, I really enjoy speaking to you." And then there's like a little epilogue that shows what ended up happening with her. Like, where are they now? There is no way in hell you would catch me talking to some woman, for like again 6 hours, one-on-one calls, twice, and then be like, "Well, in like a week or two, well, I just would prefer if we have space and you don't message me other than a couple of times a month." You'd be like, "What the hell? What kind of weird restriction is that?" Because I don't have any like I either just will not speak to someone or they can message me when they like. It's just I've never seen that before where but it goes back to this thing of when you're a man, people believe you're supposed to be the woman's slave because you know damn well that if there was a woman I was speaking to, it doesn't have to be romantic, but just there was one I was speaking to and I had hours long calls with her and was talking about I enjoy, she was fine with contacting me whenever she wanted. And I start telling her, well, we are not compatible, but you can still speak to me just once every 7 days. People would look at me like, what's wrong with you? What kind of weird restriction is that? But yeah, when I saw that, I said, there is no way in hell I'm about to put up with this. So, I even asked her, do you prefer me as a ghost? Well, that just shows how bizarre they are. And Brandon, I'm still mad at you because you won't leave any comments. So I'm gonna treat the new thing you wrote like you treat my video. It would be completely ignored. We're gonna get our revenge on Brandon. He's gonna get targeted. Hey, there was this one. I don't remember who it was. Actually, I remember. Oh, it was Roger Stone, but I don't remember who he did it to. But he put someone like a picture of somebody in crosshairs on Twitter, our Instagram, and like the police came to his house or something. We're gonna have Brandon in crosshairs. He's gonna be in the new scandal. I come to your stream and I like your stuff. That's why I won't write any comments on your videos because I really like your stuff. Even though a comment will help with engagement and get more people to see it, can't do it. Man, they kill me with that. I don't get that at all. Because you know damn well every time there's somebody I like, and sometimes there are people I watch like not that regularly, but every time there's someone I like, I always hit the like button and I always leave a comment. That's like my resolution for the last 2 years. Because I remember the main reason I turned off the likes was because the only people who use them on non-romance stuff are trolls. Like, you know, I remember the one time I did a stream and I looked on the thing and it was like, oh, one upvote, one down. I was like, oh, thanks. The troll engaged with my stuff. They left a comment and they clicked one of the buttons. They gave me engagement. That's like a running gag where like if somebody has like detractors, the detractors like them more than the people who claim to like them. Because I remember I did this one stream and that creepy guy that was like talking about I don't like what you're wearing and examining my attire and whatever and dressing sense came on there. Was the first one to leave a comment. I was like, can you go away? He needs to change. That's why I'm gonna watch all of his videos after this one. Oh my god. There was this other guy I used to watch. He did a stream. Okay, well, you're deleting your own messages. I don't know what's going on now. But there was this other person I used to watch, and he was doing a stream where he was talking about how people that don't like him are his biggest fans, and like people who like him show up 30 minutes late, and the troll is the first one there. That girl was so stupid. I would have stopped talking to her after she made those excuses. Dude, three excuses. Um, let me go back to it. It's like first she was angry, then she was sick, then she forgot. Do I want to make a video on her? If I did, it would be part of somebody because I don't she how to explain it. She's not like notable enough to do by herself. You know, she needs to be put with like two, like at least one other person. Uh, God, I don't understand these people. First you were angry, then you were sick, then you forgot. Don't say that girl, that woman. Don't, dude. People always try to make chicks out to be little kids. That's why they'll never call a man boy, but they'll always call a woman girl because that's part of their thing of trying to just make them out to be these innocent little angels who need to be protected and given all this leeway to it. So no double standards over here. If you're too busy to talk to me, I have no reason to message you. Yeah, and they're gonna talk about I need space after you just gave her that for a week. Like, imagine how insane I would look. Somebody has to talk to me in a week. They say, "Hey, how are you doing?" "Oh, cool. Oh, can we have a call?" "Oh, no, no, thanks." And also, we're not compatible, but you can still speak to me just once every 7 days, maybe 4 times a month. Like, what is with this weird specific, like, I'm very serious when I say there was nobody I talked to that I've ever told, oh yeah, you can speak to me, but only once a week. Like I might say I can only call somebody once a week or twice a week, but there's never been a limitation put on you can't send me a message other than once every 7 days. Like that's weird. And it's like Bimbo, if we're so incompatible, why do you want me to still message you? Go away. Be gone. Hey, the power of Christ compels you. No, they kill me with that stuff. They just always act like they're so busy and they're too good for you, and it's like you get sick of it. But remember, when you're a man, you're the woman's slave. Yes, so boss, we'll talk to you every 4 times a month or less. We'll do whatever you want because we would never do anything to upset you, boss. We just want an extra piece of chicken and rub a tub. This ain't no damn relationship. This is indentured servitude over the internet. Do whatever the woman wants. But you want something? Oh, too much. You need to lower your standards, even though they're already at the damn bottom. But whatever. Keep going further into the toilet, dude. I wish I could show you. I'd have to go and dig through it. But I have this one message with this broad on Reddit where she was like, where basically she wasn't directly saying it, but I mentioned that I'm not attracted to overweight chicks, like chicks that are, what I'm talking about. I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody they need to go to the gym or any stupid stuff like that because I don't have the, insane standards of my peers. But I'm not attracted to someone that is overweight. And her basic, if I explain it, she's not directly saying, oh, this should not be something that bothers you, but she was trying to downplay it as a thing where, oh, extra pounds can be lost. I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of the thing. They don't. Like no one ever tells a woman you need to lose 30 pounds for this man to like you. They get accepted any way they are. So that it was funny because it was like, how dare you have any specific wants or desires, but you need to fit and acquiesce to every want and desire of a woman you speak to. I called one of my relatives on Thursday, and we had like a 30-minute call, and like I mentioned some of the romance stuff to him, and I was talking about the double standards. I'm like, imagine having to be well off or rich or wealthy to go on a date with a woman who doesn't have a pot to piss in. It's like imagine having to go to the gym and exercise and do all this physical regimen stuff for a broad that has never even lifted a single weight ever. He was getting a real kick out of that because it was just me giving examples of these double standards. So I don't know why they act like this. They always find a way to just make this your fault. But remember, this is supposed to incentivize you to want to speak to women. I think the video will be really interesting because it'll just go into each reason why this is not appealing, and then we'll have it at the end where we just kind of do a recap. We're like, hey, I get where people want dates, but there's a certain amount of stuff that should not be expected of someone, right? To appeal to a random person. So it'll be something that I think if we do get like the nasty comments, it'll just be people not being able to actually address what I'm saying because we already have been over that most of the time they barely respond or don't respond at all to what's actually being stated, like the stupid bastard that left a comment on the video about the broad that had the explicit call with me where he was like, well, uh, I understand her decision to take a few steps back from you because that's her decision. Not because it makes sense and it's a logical thing to do. No, it's because she has triangle and I got to bend over and lick in between her legs and by defending her no matter what she does. Yeah, I'm sick of that. So we'll probably get some more of that, but it'll just be gotten rid of. These people have had years to make a consistent argument and they just can't. I actually recently talked to a girl who said she found me interesting but ignored me for 2 weeks and then came back and said she got busy with college. Oh my God, man, this stuff parallels. Like it really feels like they're all the same with the excuses and just. And I guess maybe the way I look at it is this: as someone who went to college myself, I can understand where a person can't have a call with you every day, right? Or maybe even every week because they're having exams, whatever. But I just don't believe someone is so busy that they can't say hello or respond to a message after multiple weeks. I can't buy that. Like, God, man, these people they don't have time to do anything. They might as well just start saying they're too busy to breathe. Just move, man. Don't come on. I don't want to have to delete that comment. This isn't. We don't give romantic advice here. We're not going to tell him if he wants to talk to her, he can talk to her. If he doesn't want to, he doesn't need to. But let him draw that conclusion himself. So please don't try to be like these guys that give unsolicited advice on here. It's not helpful. Nobody wants it. If he is a person of sound mind, he will make whatever decision he sees fit. Because you and I will not be affected by it. So we shouldn't sit here and try to get so invested as to give him these rationales of what he should and shouldn't do. True, I'm just saying you don't want to waste your time with people, my opinion though. Well, you didn't say, in my opinion, I think you should leave this person alone, or I think you should stop speaking to this person. You put, just move on. Like it's a command, like it's an order. You shall do what I say. She then went on to tell me I wasn't. That's everyone's new favorite word. I wasn't compatible with her because I didn't take initiative, and I'm just like, okay, sorry for trying to be reasonable and understanding. I told you the woman stuff is just a perpetual game where you cannot win. If you had sent her a message when she was, busy, right, and said, "Hey, look, Bimbo, I'm tired of you not answering back to me." People would say you were insensitive, you were not understanding. This is why she doesn't like you. Blah 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 blah. Then when you don't say anything because you're trying to honor her claims of being so busy, you didn't say anything to me and you didn't take initiative and you waited too long. So it really is damned if you do, damned if you don't. I remember the picture I did in my video. So either way, I just can't win. That's how the woman stuff is. I mean, you look at where they say, "Oh, a man will think he's a nice guy to try and get a woman to like him." And then they'll also say that if you're rude to women, they won't like you. So if you're nice to them, it's bad, and if you're rude to them, it's also bad. You know what I mean? Like it's so weird. But it's that hyper analysis where it gets to a point where it's almost as if there's nothing you can do. As long as you're not with one of them, you'll get blamed regardless. Remember, we had a random guy come on here talking about I don't think you have a driver's license. Like, what the hell does that have to do with like you are you trying to tell me that no one's ever gotten a date without having a license? I know that's not true because I don't even want to get into that. Like I literally know older people that never drove a car and they they have kids and they were married. Like what a joke. I was like, please don't try to tell me this. Like what a joke. I tell you, they always find some like reason that something happens to you, no matter what. You didn't get a date because your eyes are brown. You didn't get a date because I don't know something. Give me a second. I'll come up with another thing. Remember, after all of this hyper analysis, after people just attacking you in every which way possible, you're supposed to still want to speak to chicks. After having a bimbo, not even what was it, 3 days ago, go from having two several plus hours long calls with you, right? And doing that willingly by yourself, nobody else there, to now saying, "Oh, we're not compatible. You can only speak to me 4 times a month at most." It's like, "Oh yeah, you're supposed to still want to speak to them." I swear, I don't know what is supposed to be appealing about chicks. And I remember when I mentioned the hooker thing, I had so many people get angry. It's like, with at least with hookers, you don't have to put up with this. Like if I was so just like I needed a date, like I believed I couldn't take it anymore. I need to go out with I would go to Vegas this weekend or next weekend and pay a hooker to go on a date. Like I'm saying that it doesn't make sense to me to want these types of things and then constantly be denied them year after year, right? And then like still be expected to want to put up with this over paying someone to do it for you and not have to go through these weeks or months of flickering light opinions and changing their mind every 2 seconds. I just don't. I think that because of how mentally ill a lot of chicks act when it comes to this topic, um, people would just men would be better suited if they went and did something with a person they could pay and have the thing that they want done, um, you know, without all these side quests and preludes and all the rest of that stuff. But people don't want to, they want to say, "Oh, I can't believe you would say this." Like, well, if getting a date wasn't so damn hard to where you had loads of guys making groups about how hard it was to get one, I wouldn't say it. But look at how many of them, do this stuff to people. Oh, let me read what you just wrote. In a second. She told me in the beginning that she was in college and wouldn't be able to text me on a regular basis. I understood that and tried to honor that, but nope, I got punished for it. Yeah, because it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like I said, if you came to her and said, "Hey, look, I'm getting sick of waiting. You better have a call with me now or tomorrow or whatever," people would say you were rude, you were inconsiderate. That's why you're not with the woman. Call you the I word, all the little stupid stuff. But if you try to be understanding to one of them, you get the same result because they don't care. It's just a game of you going out of your way to appeal to this other person. They don't appreciate it, and they also do nothing to appeal to you other than exist. So I said everything is based around trying to appeal to the woman, but okay. Who's online right now that I want to talk to? Hmm. Oh man, this Discord adventure has been real fun. We've been seeing a lot of crazy people and just the bizarre ways in which they act. It's really interesting. I do intend on doing another DVD mobile video. I just got so fatigued with like the lack of views I was getting on that stuff. I was like, is this one gonna get 30 views? Oh yeah. What about 40? Oh no. Is this one gonna get 100 views? Oh no. So that's why I haven't done one in a while. Maybe I'll just do one every 2 weeks or something. I don't know. because I recorded like multiple other matches. I just never just sat down and edited them and did the audio for it. So I don't know. I'll see about putting one out again. I just again, you don't get support on stuff. It plays a part in your discontent a lot of times. I tell you, there's this one guy I watch that does videos, and like he doesn't even talk during it, and he gets more views. I'm just like, I mean, I thought the whole appeal of having someone speak over a game where you don't have a mic was so that it would be a unique experience with the person you're watching, but I guess not. That's what really sucks about that stuff. Again, I try to make it work, but it doesn't. So yeah, what else am I gonna say? Um, I'm really sick of the No Way Home stuff. We've already talked about that before, though. But I guess the reason that film is so interesting to me, not the film itself, but just kind of the stuff around it, is because I've seen other comic book movies and their preludes, and I've never knowingly viewed this much false information about a movie before. To where you have actors that people are saying are in it, and not even just like, oh, a cameo, right? Because it's very believable that they can. Just for example, with J.K. Simmons when he was at the end of Far From Home, that was a surprise people because there was like no leaks about that because it's a very short scene that he doesn't technically even have to be there to do. But they're talking about Garfield and McGuire, and then to an extent other people as well. But those two in particular, not only just being in this movie, whether it's for a scene, a little piece of it, but having these like big roles, and you have such a bare minimum of stuff to support this. And it's really I'm never sympathetic toward companies, right? Because I always think that they do screw over a lot of their customers. But if people actually get mad, like this, say this movie comes out and it's just the MCU version of Spider-Man fighting Doc Ock and Electro, maybe some other villain, I don't know, whatever. But and obviously we saw Green Goblin in the poster. But if this movie comes out and they don't have these other Spider-Men in it, and they kept saying before they're not in it, and people get mad, it's going to be one of the few times where I have to stick up for all the people involved with making it because they didn't do this. They did a thing where they were trying to bring back some actors that were in other past franchises for this series, and people got insane and just started flipping out and putting up all this false stuff so they could get themselves excited and set up for disappointment when those things aren't actually in the movie. I could show you article after article, Holland saying McGuire and Garfield are not in this movie. McGuire and Garfield are not in this movie. They're not in this movie. Not in the movie. And even after he keeps denying it, you have people making fake posters, sticking them in movie theaters, putting them on the back of buses, putting them online so people can share around and make you think it's something that's not actually. I I don't get this because if this movie comes out, right, and those two are not in it, guess what you're going to see? Man, this was such a letdown. I can't believe they didn't put the old Spider-Man in it, and I really wanted to see McGuire for the first time in almost 15 years. This movie so, but they did it to themselves. They will have done this to themselves. Told you if I go to see this and they give Doc Ock a very interesting character arc and a lot of scenes, whatever. Same thing with Electro, with Green Goblin. I'll be satisfied with it. As far as like, oh, here's this person I liked before, and they came back and they actually did something. Like I don't understand this weird like. I guess what's so irritating is they get the announcement back in December that Molina is coming back to play Doc Ock, right? And then there's some reports around the same time about Kirsten Dunst, so that was the actress that played Mary Jane in the Raimi trilogy, coming back along with Garfield. And then you have people who are thinking, oh, maybe they're only going to bring back her version of Mary Jane with another version of Peter, so they can do like a nod to another universe where those two were together. But you know, after a short time, the reports of those two being in it faded away. Both of the actors came out and denied that they were in it. And the only two that were confirmed to be coming back were Melina and Jamie Foxx as Electro from TASM 2, which is one of the I hate that damn movie so much. Whatever. Um, and then after a while, people just kept saying, "Oh, other actor's coming back, and this actor's coming back, and that actor's coming back." And the reason I compared this to the Flash, Brandon, last time was because I was talking about how there was a similar gimmick in terms of it being a multiverse story, there being alternate versions of a character in their, not from their universe. So like how they're bringing back Ben Affleck's Batman and also Michael Keaton's Batman for the first time in 30 years. And I was saying that a lot of people were going to see that movie just because of Michael Keaton's version of Batman, which is one of the most well received comic book portrayals in film of all time. Um, and you were saying, "Oh, it's Flash," and I know, but I'm talking about Flash. It's like, yeah, but Batman is apparently an integral part of the film, to where there's multiple versions of him in this movie. And I was saying that it's sad because that's a film that has a pretty similar premise of this multiverse stuff and alternate versions of characters from past stuff. But one of them is getting just lies and leaks every other 2 minutes, um, and the other one isn't. We know that Keaton is going to be in that movie. We've seen him in costume. We've seen him on the set. He's in it. With the Maguire and Garfield stuff, there's a stupid picture that people say is fake. I don't know if it is. I'm not even going to bother I'm not debating that, but there's a picture of them supposedly together. But then there are some costumes that are sitting up somewhere that are based off of the different versions of costumes they wore. It's just really flimsy. And it's really gonna suck if this thing comes out, because I mentioned the guy that stabbed me in the back earlier this year said he would only see the movie if Garfield and Maguire were in it, and I'm like, this is another person who will be setting himself up for disappointment, because like I said, I'm never going to dislike a film just because an actor is not participating. I feel like if I say something such as, "I won't see this if this person isn't in it or that person isn't in it," it's almost like I'm saying you can't tell a good story without this one person who is so important that your ability to tell an interesting narrative over the course of 2 hours is permanently halted. Like, imagine if they do an Avengers 5. I'm not seeing this if Chris Hemsworth is not in it. It's like, well, hell, are you trying to tell me that they can't make a good movie in the MCU without Thor being in it? With that, like, has heroes teaming up and whatever. Like, they already did that. It was called Civil War. But you get my point. I just think it's so sad that, and I'm really now empathetic toward John Watts as a director, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Homecoming or Far From Home, because it seems as if he's been put in this position that is impossible to get out of, where you have people who will just dismiss your movie on the premise that two actors happen to not be in it. I don't get them at all. I think it's really sad. And it kills me because they act like they can't just do it later. Like, you know, let's say they in this movie it's just the MCU Spider-Man, then he fights the different villains, whatever. Like, couldn't they just do another one where he teams up with the other spot? Like, Maguire isn't exactly about elderly, and neither is Garfield. So I don't know why we couldn't just get it. And they're making these things pretty quick every 2 years. So I don't see why we couldn't just get that in like 2 years, 3 years. But that's why I said it's so weird to me to have people get this upset over something that I just don't think is worth being like wanting to boycott the movie or not see the movie on the premise that two actors aren't in it. I'm not going to see. What's another example? Um, I don't know. It's so stupid to me. You guys can't make a good movie because these two actors aren't in it, or if you do, I'm not going to see it because these two actors aren't in it. That'd be funny if we start doing that with channels where it's like, I won't watch a TYT video unless Jank is in it. At least there's like more reason to believe he should be in every video since the channel like it was founded by him. Glad I was able to catch this stream as well. At least I'll have to watch it back once it is done. Oh, how are you doing? Look, Megumi, I've heard that you've entered negotiations to have a cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home along with the rest of the goddamn planet. So I know you're probably not gonna be able to see that much of the stream because you're gonna go film your cameo. And you can be the 99th person that they've said is in that movie. No, I was just talking about how this film is insane, just in terms of the way people are acting about it, and how this is one of the few times where I'm going to end up having to like stand up for Disney or like be on their side. It's like imagine having a movie where you keep telling people these two actors are not in it, and they're like, okay, and they keep like saying, "Oh, he's in it because we have this picture that somebody photoshopped, and then we have this other thing where like a little voice clip, and this." I the only reason I hope they're in this movie is so people will not hate it for the dumbest thing possible, which is two people not being in it. I really hope that they, just for that alone, that's the only reason I hope. Because I would rather just have a Spider-Man 4 with Maguire than have him be, palling around with Iron Boy Jr. for an hour and a half or 2 hours. This person's not in the movie. Okay, if you say so. I told you that by the time this thing finally comes out, we're gonna just have like a checklist of every actor that's ever been in one of those, and be like, "This person's in it." Check. They were Megumi. You remember Spider-Man 3? How Sandman had a daughter, his little girl that he was trying to his whole motivation for being evil was like trying to rob stuff so he could pay for her treatment for her disease. They've even like I saw it. They've even gone and started asking the actress who played Sandman's daughter if she's gonna be in it. Like she posted about on Instagram, she's like, "All right, it was funny the first time, but you guys can stop embarrassing yourself." And then they were asking if the actress that was it Donna Murphy, the actress that played Doc Ock's wife, if she was gonna be in. It's like she's dead. Maybe her character might get mentioned, but I'm like, what? Why would she be in it if her character died? Whatever. I personally would prefer Maguire to be in Spider-Man 4 too. Yeah, to hell with making some weird because I think Into the Spider-Verse was just a much better handling of that concept. Like that movie had a more interesting idea than let's bring back these other actors or whatever. But I would rather have him a continuation of that series than some weird guest starring role in this. Because the one thing they really like to do when they have the like mentor figure is kill him off, and I've seen multiple stupid posts about they're going to bring back McGuire to kill him off. So I'd rather they just not use him if that's their intention, or if he's going to be in it for like 2 minutes or 1 minute. Man, I so would have preferred 4 to any of what we got now, like Black Cat and Vulture teaming up again. Man, that would have been so cool. The only good thing that came out of the MCU Spider-Man stuff is Keaton as Vulture, but then they still like botched that because they're not even going to use him again, apparently. I do think it's funny where like all of the villains have some kind of superhero connection. Like, um, you have Batman as Vulture, you had Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Because I don't know if people remember this, but Gyllenhaal at one point was going to replace Maguire for Spider-Man 2 because his back was broken or was like very injured or something. So if he hadn't healed up in time, they would have started doing. Because remember, this is the era of the Schumacher, Burton Batman movies where it was like a common thing for them to just go, okay, we're going to keep all the other actors, but even though our main one left, we're Just pretend it's the same character, even though it's a different actor. That's why it was so easy for them to recast, War Machine after one movie in the MCU. They just switched it with somebody else. Penny was barely shown in 3. I do recall seeing a deleted scene with her though. Right, but I'm saying it's very disturbing to me that this minor character from the 3rd movie is having her actress get asked if she's going to reprise her role, even though there's been nothing official to. We don't even really know if Sandman is going to be in this, so it's an even bigger stretch to ask the person who played his daughter in a movie for a few scenes if she's going to be reprising her role. I tell you the weirdest thing to me about the original treatment, like just everything I've heard about 4 is that apparently Sandman wasn't going to be in it, so he just like fades away in this puff of sand, like bye, never to be seen. It was really funny because I remember when there was an interview that Franco, the actor that played Harry, had where he talked about how Raimi told him that he did this is before they canceled 4. He was like Raimi told him that he didn't have a part for him in 4, and I thought that was hilarious because you had Defoe, die in the first one, but then still show up as a hallucination in the second and third one. And I was like, I'm not even surprised. Like I could actually see them not mentioning Harry at all in the 4th one because they did that with Doc Ock, where he, after you have no mention of him in the 3rd one at all. I get what you're saying. I honestly can't see that happening. But I just think it's funny because it's one thing for an actor to have a tiny role, right, like a little cameo, and then we don't know about it because that's what happened with Simmons when they had him reprise his role as Jameson for their weird take on his character. But they're talking about Maguire and Garfield being in this movie. I saw one person say for 40 minutes, and it's like there's no way in hell they could film that much stuff, and we have no pictures of them on set, or if we do, it's some weird thing that people think isn't even real anyway. We have no videos of them in costume doing it. Like it, I just don't buy it. And it really sucks because, like I said, these people are not leading us on at all to believe that they're in there. They keep saying those 2 are not in there, not in this movie, not in this movie, not in this movie. So when this film comes out and they're not there and people get pissed, it's going to be their own damn fault. I just think that's really sad. No, the issue with 4 is that to this day we still don't know all of the plot details for it or what all I'm talking about, where there's like certain stuff we know for a fact was going to happen, but we also don't know specifically how it was going to go. Um, so with 5 and 6, we know that those were going to be filmed back to back. What's that guy's name? Vanderbilt. He was writing the script for 4, and then was apparently going to do those 2. So it sucks that we got stuck with Iron Boy and the amazing reboot that died after 2 movies because the second one was so awful. My best friend, I think I told you, my best friend said those are his favorite ones. I told him that's like when there's that hot woman that is with that monster, and like that guy that you don't know what she sees, and that's what his like view is to me. Like TASM 2 is trash. Like you had these 3 movies that set up Harry as the new Goblin, right? This like concentrated, rather long but satisfying character arc, at least to getting there, right? Because people have problems with 3, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, we don't want to actually take our damn time like sane filmmakers, so let's just have him become evil. And supposedly he had this really close relationship with Peter, even though he was never mentioned at all in the first one. Let's have him try to get Spider-Man's blood because he's dying, even though the same disease that killed his dad only took his dad after his dad was way older than him, but apparently he's dying very soon. What is this? Oh my god! I don't know what's wrong with like that movie is the perfect example of like people trying to do too much with too little. Let's skip Norman as Green Goblin and go to his son, and then we're not even gonna have his son develop and like actually make his turn tragic and see what it was like for him and Peter to be best friends. Let's just have it be one movie, and he switches completely and very quickly over the course of a couple of scenes. Dude, I don't know how anybody likes that band. Like I think the first one was all right. I was tired of seeing the origin again, but I think it was all right. Like I'd give it a 7 out of 10 at worst. You know, I thought it was okay. It was serviceable. But that second one is trash. I wouldn't. I That's probably the only one of these movies I could never see myself just watching again, just like for fun, because I don't find it enjoyable. Too much high expectations on this movie and speculation about who will be showing up in it for certain without solid confirmation. Yeah, and like I said, they've used the fact that Molina and Fox are coming back as Doc Ock and Electro to create fan theories about other people coming back, who in some cases have outright said, "I'm not in this movie." So when the movie comes out and none of these people are in it, guess what the fans are going to do? This is false advertising. The movie sucks. Why didn't you bring those two back in? I think it's really sad. I tell you, people just they set themselves up for disappointment. Let's say if they were all going to be in this film, that would be ridiculous. Well, that's another thing I talked about, James. I will never get over when I was a little kid. Well, I wasn't a little kid, I was 9, but so whatever. I'll never get over watching the reviews of Spider-Man 3. Remember what I kept hearing? There's too many characters, too many villains. Like you guys want a movie where there's 5 villains because they want we only know that it's going to be Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Electro, and they're also talking about supposedly Sandman and Lizard being in this. Which by then I don't know why you wouldn't have the Sinister Six if you're going to have 5, whatever. But 5 villains, right? And 3 Spider-Men, and then you also have the supporting cast for this one. You got Aunt May, you got the MJ character, Ned, Happy, the guy from Iron Man, John Favreau. It's like this movie's gonna have way more characters than 3 ever did. That's why I said every time I see people like I'll always remember people trashing 3 for like having too much in it, and then they give something like this a pass and even encourage it to have as many people in it as possible. Spider-Man 3 had too many villains. With 3 villains, it was too much. But this movie should have 5 or 6, along with 3 Spider-Men, who all have their own character arc. And they're not even, the worst part is they're not even just saying they're going to be back. They're like, oh yeah, the actress that played Mary Jane is coming back, and the actress that played Gwen is coming back. Like, just go, get out of here. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of people who are so quick to just hate on something if they aren't satisfied with something, especially if what their expectations aren't so realistic to be implemented. Well, I don't even think it's about their expectations being like I think if they made a 3 hour if they did a sequel to this that was 3 hours with all 3 Spider-Men, it could work and it would probably be like okay or serviceable. But when you have people officially involved with this damn movie saying for months, those two are not in this, and one of them, Garfield, has said repeatedly, I'm not in this. And then you go, oh, yeah, you're in this. When this thing comes out, right? And if those two are not in it, which I lean more toward them not being it, whatever. I prefer if they were whatever. If they're not in there, you know what's gonna happen, right? Man, I went to go see that new movie and they lied to me. I thought Garfield and McGuire were gonna be in it. Man, this is so stupid. You know what's I think is like really funny? Um, if they wanted to, they could have this just be Tom's version fighting like 3 or 4 villains, whatever. And then the fourth one could be like the big team up with the other. Like they don't even think about stuff like that. That this just be set up. I swear, man, people just their expectations really drive me nuts because I feel very sympathetic for John Watts. He he probably thought when he brought back these other actors, oh cool, we're gonna give some fan service. People like those versions for the most part. I don't really know anybody that likes Electro from TASM 2, but whatever, you know. There are fans of that stuff, so if they get someone back as well, I'm not complaining. Uh, and then it's like you bring back a few actors, and now there's a whole discussion of 5, 6, 7, 8 other characters or actors coming back. You're like, wow, I opened up a can of worms with that one. Definitely would be hard for the screenwriter to write out the story. Well, like I said, man, Spider-Man 3 has maybe like 6 or 7 major characters in it. Like you got the three villains, Peter, Mary Jane, Jameson. That's like what, 6 characters, 7 characters, and people say, "Oh, it's got too many villains, too many characters." But then a movie where they're gonna have, without even including the non superheroes or supervillains, 9 characters, and then adding the rest of the cast is gonna be like 12 or 13. I don't like this movie is literally gonna be Young Justice season 2 with too many damn characters. They can't focus on anybody. Or if they do focus on you, they get rid of you after one movie or one season or whatever. Oh, James, have you ever seen Young Justice? Because we had a whole discussion about that damn show last. What was that on Thursday? I didn't think there were too many. Well, listen, I think that movie would have been a lot better if it were 3 hours long, because we don't really get to see that much of Venom. Like we see his fall or whatever, but we don't get to see much of him as Venom. So I would have preferred that because he's really, out of any of the villains, the one that gets the least amount of attention or screen time in costume, just across the whole trilogy. But somebody made a good point where they said the ending of that film doesn't work if you don't have the 3 antagonists. Because if you have just Peter and then he's fighting, Sandman. Sandman is not going to be a threat for him and New Goblin because they can blow him up. They can do all kind of stuff. If it's Peter and New Goblin versus Venom, Spider-Man already can beat Venom by himself. He gets in the right circumstances. So it's still, you know, it's one of those things where where this guy basically pointed out, it's a sacrifice that had to be made for the final battle to work and actually be kind of balanced. I still think I would have preferred if they so at one point that the 3 was going to be 2 movies where 4 was going to be a continuation of 3, so like 4 picks off where 3 is. I think that would have been better if like 3 ends with Venom becoming Venom and going and then 4 is like him just going around messing with Peter, for a whole film until the final conclusion. I think that would have been way preferable. How many villains besides Sandman and Venom? It was 3. New Goblin. He was in there as well. I don't even really consider him a villain because like he's not robbing people. He's not going around just killing random any person. Like all of his aggression is just geared toward the protagonist. Like he's kind of a villain by default in a way. Like I'd say he's an antagonist, but I don't know if I would call him a villain. Because if you look at his record compared to other villains in the series, he's not. That's why I said he's such an interesting character, and I really hate that they get rid of him after one movie of him actually like being powered up and fighting and stuff. But whatever, and that's something that would have never been fixed because 4 would have just gone on without him. So that was always just an idea, like, hey, you can have powers and go around your glider for one movie, and then we're gonna get rid of you. They love doing that. They always have somebody become like every villain's only just for one movie. That was how it always used to be. It was the same thing with the Burton Schumacher movies. It's like Joker's in one movie, then that's it. Penguin and Catwoman are in one movie, and then that's it. And then they're gonna give Catwoman's gonna have a spin-off movie. Yes, we have a second appearance, and then that never gets made. Uh, Riddler and Two-Face are in one movie, and then that's it. And it's like it's just I got so sick of that. They never use the villain more than once up until the MCU. That's the best part of the MCU, that some villains actually get used more than once, like Loki, but the rest of them, nope. That's my least favorite part of about superhero films. Like if you weren't Loki, let me go back before the MCU. If you weren't Magneto or Doctor Doom or Harry from the Sam Raimi trilogy, you had no chance of like becoming antagonistic toward the protagonist and actually carrying over to multiple films. Like I people trash the original two Fantastic Four movies, but at least they knew to keep Doctor Doom around. That is true. It definitely was too short, and Venom wasn't really evolved much, explored much either. I'd be on board with a continuation, a next sequel. I still would have preferred if they had added Black Cat in two like they did in the game. Well, that's why she's in the game, because she was originally going to be in the film. And that's one of the things that sucks about not having four, because that was Raimi taking an old idea. Because he had a thing where he would have some idea, and then if it didn't work out for that one, he would just save it for the next one. Like originally, Doc Ock and Green Goblin were both going to be the villains of the first one, but he thought it would be too much to have three origins in one movie, so he saved Doc Ock for the second one, which I think was a much better choice than having. I just think it would have like really split the focus. Yeah, I might go and watch Young Justice. I wanted to, but just never did. Well, look, I think the first season is amazing. I give it a 10 out of 10. After that, it just. I'm cautiously optimistic about the fourth one because they said they're going to focus on the season one group, and I saw the first couple episodes. I thought it's not as busy as the other two seasons where there's like five plots going on at once. So it might be the best one since the first one. No, I think season one was great. No matter how much I may hate what they did after that, I think season like I would go back and watch season one anytime because it has six protagonists. They're all well developed. They all have these like really unique, specific relationships and interesting personalities. Um, and all the other characters are basically there just to service those six. And then season two just throws it off a cliff. But I still think season one by itself is a really solid. Um, I'd say it's probably of any of the DC stuff that's not part of the DCAU, like Batman, Justice League. It's probably my favorite DC thing, other than DC show, other than maybe the Green Lantern show, because that was also really good, and that got screwed over for the dumbest reason on planet Earth. Well, the toys for the stupid movie that had nothing to do with your show didn't sell, so we're going to cancel your show. God, I don't know what's wrong with people. I really like that Green Lantern show. They had all the different, well, not all, but they like in one season they had these four protagonists that they developed. They had the different Lantern Corps. Damn, I hate that got canceled. They had Hal Jordan being played by what was it, Josh Keaton, Spider Man, like the one that everybody says is like so amazing and great and like a really good voice actor. God, DC lost their marbles when they let that get canceled. I wish that had been the one that got revived because I don't think they would like because it was CGI. Nobody would sit here and say, well, the budget went down because I mentioned before 2D animation is dying. It's on its last leg. Like outside of Japan, more and more people and companies are like, no, we're not doing that. That's why you had a CGI Transformer show, multiple ones, in fact. That's why you had a CGI Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like people are just tired of having to sit there and draw this stuff and barely be able to stay on model, or it's like really stiff. They're sick of that. So yeah, 2D is on its last leg. Hell, if I actually knew how to make CGI models, I would have my show be CGI. Nah, 2D is on its last leg. Imagine James as an old man. He's like, back in my day, we used to have cartoons that people drew with their hands. Now they make them in the computer. Just every show now is CGI. Like only place where it's where stuff is still in 2D is Japan when they have the animes. Other than that, everywhere is using CGI. That was one of the reasons I really like Jimmy Neutron because back then in like the early 2000s, you didn't have a cartoon that was well, I mean, you had some before, but not that many. So that was another thing that really stuck. I hate that that show got canceled for a stupid movie that the company made. Like I even explained this to James before. He thought they just ended that show. Like, no, they wanted it to be another long-running show like Fairly Odd Parents and SpongeBob. But what happened was the company that made the animation for that show did some horrible movie that barely sold anything, and they canceled the whole series because they went bankrupt. Yeah, got a blast. That's another example of a show getting canceled for stupid reasons. Then they make Planet Sheen. Yeah, that trash. That show was so bad. One of the people that was involved even admitted, "Yeah, we should have just made a revival of Jimmy. We should we instead of this stupid idea we had." Megumi, I could do a whole stream just talking about different cartoons and different shows I like why I like them, and then why they ended up like dying or getting canceled. That show got canceled because the company that made it did some film that bombed and they went bankrupt and didn't have the money to make any more stuff. Like that show got canceled because of a stupid movie. Just like with the Green Lantern show. That got canceled because toys for the dumb movie didn't sell. I remember back in like because I was 15 when that show ended. I remember I used to go in Toys R Us and they would have like all the different Green Lantern movie toys still in there from 2 years afterward. I was like, damn, this is still here. Oh my god. Shows that go on for too long are eventually gonna dry up. I mean, you can say that if you want, but Dragon Ball went on for what 11 years, and people said they still liked it by the end. Like I think, other than the Buu saga, the rest of the original manga is really solid. I would easily give it a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. Like outside of some power scaling issues, I'm fairly content with that series. Same thing with Naruto. Naruto, the original one, is 200 episodes long. Um, but I don't really have an issue with it. I think it gave focus to each of its characters. So I don't believe in the idea that if something just goes on continuously, it automatically gets bad. I don't buy it. SpongeBob should end. Oh no, they're gonna keep that forever because now that the original the guy who made it died, they're gonna make sure that they just milk that as much as they can, just getting its udders. Let's not talk about power levels. Oh yeah, I don't even I don't bother with that. It's just funny to like because I remember back when it was just Dragon Ball Z and GT and people were like, this character's power level was this number. I'm like, go away. Just gotta have time skips. Well, we talked about that how in Dragon Ball the time skips are not there to mess with the narrative. They're literally just there so you can infer that someone's gotten stronger because of how much time has passed. Um, and then when you get to the Buu saga, that's when they start using it as an excuse to be lazy and not develop characters. Like you have Vegeta in the Cell saga hate Bulma so much to where he doesn't even try to save her when 20 tries to blow up her ship. And then he's now living with her and domesticated, no, just nothing in between, just this time skip, and now he's different. And then you had Gohan, the strongest fighter at the time of beating Cell, who's like gonna protect Earth and his dad Steed. Time skip. Oh, now he's just a bookworm that doesn't train. What caused him to not train? I don't know. Hey, it that the Boo saga is when they just Toriyama was like, I'm so damn lazy. I already made my money. I don't have to write a good story anymore. Let me just use a time skip to make things be different without having to actually explain it. Because you can do a time skip where something is different, right? And still develop the idea. Like for example, if you had a time skip where a character, because there's an idea I had for my show where a character who used to talk, a year passes, they no longer speak because how traumatized they were. You can show in flashbacks what happened. Like that's a way of still developing someone without having to break down whatever your main plot is, but like still caring enough about that character to explain what happened with them, you know? So it's sad that, you know, people that get paid to write do stuff like this. It's really pathetic. I mean, hell, we already talked about Endgame and all of its time skips and excuse me, not all of its time skips, but all of the off-screen character development. It's like, oh yeah, here's Hawkeye. He just lost his family, and you want to see how he deals with that? Time skip. Oh, now he's Ronin. He's going around killing these different gangsters, and he's like spiteful about what happened with his family. What caused him to eventually make the turn from being a hero to an anti-hero that is like very vindictive and angry? And when did he start doing this? No idea. Hey, look at Hulk. Remember that character that couldn't control the urges that he had to transform into a monster and he would rampage and da 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 da. Time skip. Now he's able to be Hulk while still retaining his personality, and he's come to an understanding with his alter ego. What happened to cause them to come to this understanding, and how long was it before this understanding came during that 5 years? No idea. I think that is so sad. We Hulk just got so screwed over by that stupid universal rights issue thing where the MCU can't make another movie about him, but they can stick him in everything else where he still doesn't even get development or focus anyway. I was rewatching Avengers, the first one, and I was not recently, but like a few months ago. Um and Hulk was probably the best character in it, where they have the scene where Rafalfa was like, you know, I tried to I got low and I tried to put a bullet in my mouth, and the other guy spit it out. They really had a good opportunity to develop that character, and they just he just got screwed over by having to be in stuff with 5 or 6 other heroes, and damn, you know, like I really would have liked to have seen Rafalfo play Hulk in a like it could be a trilogy, it could be one movie, something, you know. Such a lazy way and cop out to just explain away why something has undergone a dramatic change or shift. Yeah, it's a way of reaching the results without actually doing the work. Imagine if it with Avatar, instead of this like 3 seasons of Zuko going from antagonist to anti-hero to protagonist, they're just like they have the first 2 seasons, right? And then instead of us seeing like what causes him to give up being part of the royal family, now he's been accepted again. We just do a time skip, and now he's with, he's with Team Avatar. Man, imagine how like screwed up that show would be if it. See, that's the one thing I like about the Last Airbender. It's set within less than a year, and it shows this like big journey that changes all of its major characters, with the exception of like Iroh and Toph. But you get the idea that you get this like really tiny set of time that just shows how much someone can change in months, or you know, after these experiences that they have. They don't if they use a time skip in that show, it's only like very minimal. It's never used to just explain away, you know, someone's personality changing. Told you we traded in a 4th season of that for that horrible movie. We could have got another 20 classic episodes, but instead we were like, no, we're gonna get this horrible film that condenses the plot and has bad acting and is actually considered one of the worst movies ever made. Like I don't even like TASM 2, but I don't see that on people's worst movies of all time list, because there is some competent acting in that. But The Last Airbender, not the show, the movie, is so awful that it's on people's worst movies of all time list. Dude, if I directed a movie and it made like, because there are a lot of films people just don't like, don't think are good, whatever. But if I directed a movie and it made people's like worst films of all time list, I would give up. Like it takes a special level of incompetence to be put on something like that. Oh my god, I still can't. Like every time I go and remember, it's like they really said, "Let's not do a season 4. Let's make this stupid film." Okay. And we talked about Beast Wars before, how that show had 3 seasons, and then they never knew if they were going to come back for another season because they would never know that they were getting renewed until after they finished everything. And then when they're doing season 3, they get to writing the season finale. Oh, this is going to be the series finale, so they have to wrap up 50 episodes worth of plot in 3. Like that is ridiculous. That is absolutely insane. I don't care what anybody says. If I was writing a show, that's why I would never want to do a show for a network, because the idea of having a long-term goal with your story and then it's cut short because some clown doesn't want to renew your contract or you're not getting enough views or whatever, that's just, that would really piss me off. And not being able to tell your story or what you want to do does have a long-term effect on filmmakers. Raimi did an interview 2 years ago where he talked about he still thinks about Spider-Man 4 because all these other Spider-Man movies come out and he gets reminded of that one that he never got to make. So, and hell, another good example would be that with Danny Phantom, season 2 and 3 are different. Like 3 is the least liked of any of the seasons of the show. Um, because, well, not because there's some plots people don't like, but they also talk. There's a thing where one of the people, Steve Marmol, this guy that worked on the first 2 seasons, left, and we to this day only know vague information about what he would have done if he was still on the show for season 3, like what ideas he would have liked to have executed. Um, and again, he won't even, was it 12, 13 years after that show ended, he still won't say what specifically he wanted to do, either because he wants to respect that that didn't get made, so it doesn't matter, or because he still is holding out hope that the clowns at Nickelodeon will renew that show so we can actually do more seasons of it and get to tell the story that he wanted. It's the same thing with Wiseman, where he only revealed, Spectacular Spider-Man got canceled, what, in 2009? So that's like 12, 13 years ago. He still won't reveal to us what, like, he gives vague stuff. Like he said, oh, I wanted 5 seasons. I wanted there to be some OVA original movies after that, but still not that much about like what were the plots of these different, because again, holding out hope that maybe one day you'll be able to come back and actually make this. But yeah, not being able to make something that you care about or like it has a long term effect a lot of times. I told you about that stupid bimbo I was talking to who said, in regards to this guy that I mentioned, he made a movie and it took him. He announced it in like I think 2012, but didn't come out until like 2017, 2018. Like 5 years later, right? Or it was like 2013, somewhere around there. But he announced it, didn't come out for 5 years. She's like, wow, I can't. I wonder why it took him so long. Like, Ho, do you not understand that when people make a show, a movie, and I don't even like Butch Hartman, but he said it best. When you see one of those, that's usually an idea that somebody had in their head for years that's just now coming. Like I mentioned before, I wrote the first script for my show back in like 2012, and I didn't get to make an episode until over 3 years later. I didn't have a computer to well, like one that had the editor on it or whatever. So it's like funny to me that people don't understand that when you create something or don't get to create it, you can still think about it and just have it be in your head as an idea, just sitting there. But that's what happens when you don't make stuff. You don't understand the struggles of people that do. Just like remember with I remember I never mentioned this, but with Star Wars, we were supposed to have before the so after six was made, or I guess Return of the Jedi because they didn't have the numbers on them yet. The original intention was for it to be six movies, and Vader would be defeated in the third one. Luke would have a sister that wasn't Leia, and then the Emperor would show up in the sixth one. Whatever, it'd be like this big continuous story about Luke, and then three would just be like the conclusion of this origin, and then four, five, and six would be him as the Jedi Knight, saving the galaxy or whatever. But it didn't. It fell through because Lucas got sick and tired of all the little stuff that was happening with like behind the scenes. Like it made him cut his idea short. That's why I always like I just think it's so funny where he was like, "Well, I could introduce a sister for Luke, but nah, I'm just gonna say it's Leia because whatever, it'll be easier." I have this other insane person from what country is that? I'm not gonna say what country she's in, but it's another one of those people where they talk to you and then all of a sudden they just abruptly stop responding. And you don't get into an argument with them, you don't get into a fight with them. They just stop. They just wake up one day and they're like, "Nah, I'm not gonna talk to you anymore." Like, all right, whatever. You wanna act that way, be my guest. That's why I said you can't take people on here seriously. They change on you so quickly. Let me see. There's some kind of little thing loading out here. Yeah, I'm just really tired of a lot of stuff with people online. But no, I always found behind the scenes information about shows or movies or whatever to be very interesting because it lets you know the um the issues that occur with a lot of stuff that most people don't see. Like people that just see a show just see it. They don't know about, the different plots they had that got canceled or some other idea that was thrown out there that didn't make it to fruition. It's really interesting to just see the disconnect between people who know about this behind the scenes stuff and those that don't, because a lot of times it can make you either be very regretful that something ended when it did or very happy that it ended when it did. A good example of this would be the guy that stabbed me in the back likes and want like and I kept and I'll just keep saying this. I really don't care if Garfield comes back to play Spider-Man again. He played him in one movie that I thought was good and one movie that I thought was terrible. Um, and this person's response was to say, "Oh, I like Garfield as an actor. Like I like him as an actor too, but I don't really care to see him as Spider-Man again." And one of the reasons for that is because from everything I've heard about the Amazing Spider-Man 3, it sounded like it was going to be trash. Dennis Leary, the actor who played not Uncle Ben, no, because that was Martin Sheen. The actor who played George Stacy uh, did an interview like a year after TASM 2 came out where he talked about how the plot for 3 was going to be Peter being able to resurrect people from the dead, and he would bring back George and Gwen. And I just thought to myself, this plot sounds god awful. You're going to have Spider-Man be some weird zombie creator. See, what the real reason they wanted to plot like that is because they regretted killing Gwen off at the end of 2 because they realized that she was probably the most popular character to come out of that film series, to where you still have people that want Emma Stone to play Spider Gwen, so that she can be further divorced from being tied to Garfield. And I just don't see where any version of TASM 3 that could have possibly been made would have been interesting. They were talking about having TASM 3 be a prequel to 2 so they could use Gwen again, which would be really weird. How is something a sequel but also a prequel? That's insane. But I didn't really care to see any more of that story. So he tried to say, "Oh, I still want to see him, but I understand." And he admitted he didn't know about any of these plans. He's another one of those people that acts like they're so much smarter than they actually are. He admitted he had no idea about any of these plans that they had for the TASM franchise, as it would be called. I talked about how with the Sinister Six movie, they were going to have Harry, Dane DeHaan's version from TASM 2, the killer of Gwen. They wouldn't even mention her. It was like she didn't even exist. I just think it's hilarious. Like that's what I said about how people don't know about behind the scenes stuff, so they get this idea in their head, like, oh yeah, Garfield played Spider-Man in one good movie and one bad movie, and the next one would have been good, or it might have been good. Like, no, it would have been just as awful, if not worse. Like, I'll take a guy who's angry at Spider-Man because he doesn't want to give him his blood over Spider-Man becoming a zombie resurrected. It's like, what the hell? I don't like everyone I told that to says they don't want to see that. That would have been weird. But that was actually something they were thinking and planning of doing. And we know it's true because one of the actors came out and said it was. This isn't like some little internet thing that people make up. The people involved admitted this was what they wanted to do because they realized they killed off characters that were much more popular than they thought and had cold feet and regretted it and were trying to get them to come back. Many people usually don't care to look into behind the scenes why something is the way it is. Oh, of course not. But I'm just saying that a lot of times when you know what happened behind the scenes, you can be either more sympathetic to something or be happy that it didn't continue. Just like I remember, I went and looked it up. Originally, Merge Zamasu was going to be defeated by Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta teaming up, which would have been the first time that a major villain was defeated by two characters together. Like, just I would have preferred that to, hey, let's bring back Vegito for 2 seconds. I am neither Goku nor Vegeta. I am the Saiyan that is popular for no reason and will cameo for 10 seconds so I can appear in video games with blue hair. I told you, I don't care what anybody says. One of the biggest issues with Super outside, and we can talk about that thing all day, they completely dropped the ball on fusions. They took fusions, which were already a concept that that sounded cooler than it actually was in execution, and just made it even worse. Like, oh yeah, the Patara earrings only permanently fuse you if you are part of this one, race. Like, oh, thanks for taking away the stakes from the Boo saga. Good job. Because remember, the Boo saga stakes were if Goku and Vegeta fuse with the Patara earrings, they can never be themselves again. They always have to remain as Vegito forever. Which that didn't last for more than like 3 episodes. But you get my point that, like, I could realistically believe maybe there's something in Boo that made them unfuse whatever. And that's what I said. This show is so frustrating. It ruins itself and it ruins past things as well. Dragon Ball is such a I don't know. I just think Super had a lot of things it could have done, and it just it really botched itself. I guess that's just the way that these shows go. And we got a new chapter coming next week. People are showing leaks, not leaks, but the preview pages of that. It looks boring, just like the rest of them. I'm just waiting for this stupid arc to be over. I'm tired of Granola. He's just a ripoff of Baby. I'm angry because my race was defeated and I want vengeance. Yeah. Hello, Baby. That's one of the funniest things I said, that all the villains from Super rip off Baby. Like, oh, a villain who does like a thing where they can take people's bodies and they're trying to like get the strongest person's body. That's what Zamasu is. Oh, you mean like Baby? A villain with the tragic, hey Jiren, an antagonist with the tragic backstory of being like the sole survivor, losing all their friends, whatever, who believes that domination must come from them, right? Oh, you mean like baby? As we all know, Super should be renamed as the Goku and Vegeta show. And you know what really sucks? There are certain parts of that series that like deviate from that, and they always revert back to it. Like in the Moral arc, it's the first arc since it's either the first arc since the Tournament of Power, which in itself is the first arc since the Cell Saga, to give Piccolo multiple fights. The only reason I will go back and read pieces of that arc are to see Piccolo have some fights again, because he hadn't had any fights throughout. Like he had a fight in the universe. We already been over this. Very little is done with him in terms of fighting ever. So I was really happy to read that. And it's like it made me think, because he was also in the Broly movie. He was one of the few characters in that wasn't the same. I was like, oh my god, they're going to start using Piccolo more. And then here we are in the Granola arc. He's shown up, I think, in one chapter out of the last 10 or 11. It is the Goku and Vegeta show in the show and in the manga. I really hate that. I despise it with every fiber of my being. To have a series where you have all of these amazing, interesting characters, right? And the only two that you use that were introduced before Battle of Gods with consistency are Goku and Vegeta. I think it's really stupid because they act. I'm just so tired of the fans of that show. Well, this character's too weak, then train him. It's like Gohan at the start of Z is literally weaker than everybody. That's why they spent a whole arc training him. That's why at the end of the arc, he ends up not only helping with Nappa and stalling him until Goku arrives, but having to save his own damn dad. Goku is so much stronger than everybody. That's why he got his butt whooped by Vegeta and had to be saved by his toddler son and best friend. Goku is so much stronger than everybody. That's why when he was doing the Spirit Bomb and after getting whipped around like a rag doll by Frieza, Piccolo had to come and save him and give him enough time to finish it. Goku is so much stronger than everybody. That's why he defeated Cell. Yeah, it definitely wasn't anybody else. Goku is so much stronger than everybody. That's why his ultimate Super Saiyan form, Super Saiyan 3, ended up losing to Kid Buu, and he had to ask everyone on Earth for help to take him out with the Spirit Bomb. Dude, Goku is like the ultimate plot device ever. Like, just I'm really amused that the show is the way it is. Like, it's like the undertone message of Z is that it can be a great show without Goku, and then everything after that is like, no, we need Goku. We can't. We need him. We have to have him. I told you the Garlic Jr. arc is the only arc I've ever seen of a series where the quote unquote main character isn't even there. Like just a whole arc where the supposed main protagonist isn't there. Because I made the argument before that the main character of Z could be argued as multiple people. Like there are multiple arcs where Gohan has more screen time than Goku, Vegeta has more screen time than him, Krillin, Piccolo. Like those same four kept getting more screen time than him, but he's the supposed main character. I tell you, there's a big part of the Saiyan saga where it's Gohan, Piccolo, and Krillin versus Nappa, and all Goku does is fly on the Nimbus cloud. Like, woo! I'm coming to save the day. And then his fight with Nappa is like way shorter than the one like with them versus Nappa. And then when he fights Vegeta, he loses. That's your main character, the person who got less screen time than every damn body. Well, the four I mentioned earlier, and has to be saved by a little boy. I still think that arc was great. I'm not trashing it. I just think it's funny when people act like Goku's this amazing protagonist that needs to defeat every major villain. Like he did not defeat Vegeta. He didn't defeat Cell. He barely beat Boo, and that was still with the help from everybody on Earth. The only villain he directly defeats by himself is Frieza, and even that can be debated because he still got help from Piccolo when he was charging the Spirit Bomb, which failed, which is why I don't even like the Spirit Bomb. It's the lamest, most boring move ever. Hey, Megumi, have you ever seen a series where the supposed main character is like consistently getting less screen time than the same four other characters and also needing to be saved by them or have somebody else defeat the main antagonist than them? I remember watching the Frieza saga, like just the whole thing from start to finish a couple of years ago, and I was like, what it's so insane to watch that and just think about the Goku and Vegeta show now where like yeah, that arc is about Vegeta, Krillin, and Gohan, but Goku in the Frieza saga just sits up in the spaceship and then has like one fight with the Ginyu Force, right? Then he gets defeated by Captain Ginyu, and then his son, his toddler son, and his best friend have to save him by getting his body back for him. Then he's sitting up in the chamber like this while everybody else is fighting Frieza. Like that's your main character. I remember that it seems too many like to stick with the status quo. Right, but I'm saying that Z is the like I know you like GT, but Z is the most popular of the four series, okay? And it's the one that has Goku the least in it by far. Because Toriyama knew he had more interesting characters. Dude, Goku in the Cell Saga, all he does is fight 19 and then do this and then do this until Cell is like almost is like we call it until the like Piccolo 17 fight is about to start, and then that's when he goes to the time chamber where he just sits like this while Piccolo fights 17, and while 17 gets absorbed after he fights Cell with Piccolo, and then he saves Piccolo, and then he's just doing this again, and then he goes to the time chamber and trains with Gohan a little bit, and then like he only has two fights that whole arc, and he loses both of them. That's your main character that the show has to revolve around, or else it's not Dragon Ball. It's a spinoff. Yeah, I told you if I did my own Dragon Ball show, he wouldn't even be in it. It would be set. I remember I mentioned it would be set in the year between Frieza like saga and then when Trunks comes to Earth. Oh my god! And then the Buu saga. He loses to Majin Vegeta because Majin Vegeta, hits him when he's like he only takes out was it Yakin or whatever. Then he loses to Majin Vegeta. Then he like I guess ties with Boo, and then is like getting beat up by Super Boo. Then he's getting beat up by Kid Boo. Oh my god! One of the worst main characters of all time. I think Toriyama should have just grew some balls and killed him off and just had like for if you want to do an arc after that, just have it be about Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta, and Krillin again. All way more interesting, better characters than Goku. The only series where Goku's kind of interesting is the original Dragon Ball. And that's only because he's a lot more nicer and doesn't make stupid decisions like, oh, let this guy know about this tournament that's going to blow up all these different universes because I want to fight somebody. Yeah, I don't care who disagrees. Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta, Krillin, pretty much any of the Z fighters, all better characters than Goku after the original. At least they don't sit up uh, doing nothing and then having like one or two fights in arc before everybody else has to make the plot move around. And he's only gotten worse. Anyways, I've talked long enough. I hope you enjoyed this stream. It was multi topics because I'm a very complex person with all these different nuances and layers and all the rest of that. So I'll see you later. Thanks Megumi. Thanks Eurodollar. You came for your little cameo. Uh, yeah, that was a really stupid decision. What was a stupid decision? Thanks James. Where's the Kotsky merch? Oh, I see he disappeared. He dipped. Very, very electric. No, I want to, Megumi. What was a stupid decision? Like, I want to know. Oh, you mean the thing with the universe survival tournament where he wanted to to like risk all these different universes being blown up so he could have a fight. I mean, I don't get what people see in that character. I really don't. I like him mostly when he was a kid, and then after that, he's just like an absentee dad, and whatever. But I just think the series has way more interesting characters that they don't use as much because everyone sucks him off. So just to a ridiculous extent. So, thanks for showing up, James. I'll see the rest of you, on Monday.